In anticipation for the year 2024, China's continuing economic recovery and improvement is injecting further confidence into the economy.
China will continue to be a progressive force, encouraging other countries to open up.
From fostering innovation to driving a green transformation, more opportunities inherent to China's economic landscape will plot the next chapter. Uncover the role of innovation as a catalyst for economic growth and how China harnesses technological advancements to stay ahead in the global economic race.
China is a big market for these chips.
Join us for an insightful exploration of the economic prospects for the Chinese economy in 2024 and delve into how China continues to lead in a rapidly evolving global economic landscape. Only on BizTalk, only on CGTN. Hello and welcome to this edition of BizTalk. I'm Guan Xin in Beijing. As we ushered in a new year, the world is witnessing unprecedented shifts in economic dynamics, and China, as world's second-largest economy, continues to play a pivotal role in shaping the global economic order. And today, we're honored to be joined by two prominent economists who will provide valuable insights as we delve into the prospects and challenges that lie ahead for China and the world economy in 2024. Our esteemed guests include Professor Li Daokui from Tsinghua University, a leading authority on Chinese and global economy, and the distinguished U.S. economist Professor Thomas Sargent, who was awarded the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2011 for his groundbreaking contributions to the field. In the first part of our discussion, Professor Li Daokui joins us from Beijing, offering his expertise and perspectives on the economic landscape in China and its implications for the global economy. Welcome to the show, Professor Li.
Thank you very much for having me.
The World Bank is expecting 4.5% for 2024. What is your target for the economy if China can do the right thing?
Well, I would say most realistically, the Chinese economy will be running at the pace of 5%, 2024, 5%. Now, why is that? I think it's because the Central Economic Work Conference actually laid the ground for very proactive policies in various areas, various forms in a property market, the fiscal policy, monetary policy, industrial policy, so on and so forth. So 5% is the number I forecast for 2024.
And that gave us much needed confidence at this stage. And Professor Li, let's talk a bit about global environment, which is full of challenges this year. In context of global supply chain dynamics, how is China adapting its manufacturing and trade strategies to navigate disruptions?
Well, China has been adopting a two-hands policies. The first aspect of this policy is to try to work with the U.S. and the European governments to stabilize the potential economic conflict. In other words, try to maintain the already mature and ongoing supply chain between China and Europe and the U.S. So China has made a lot of efforts, and China will continue making such efforts. The second aspect of China's trade policy is to try to encourage the redeployment of China's supply chain to other countries and to hedge against the U.S. European policies. More specifically, China's industries are being gradually moving to Vietnam and to Mexico and also other Southeast Asian countries. And notice, not all production lines are moving out of China. It's only part of that. Part of Chinese supply chain is now being redeployed to Mexico and to Vietnam as a way to to hedge against the U.S. Trade restrictions against Chinese products. So notice again, it's part of that. So move part of production to these countries, Mexico and Vietnam, so that the products finally can be shipped to the US market without being labeled as being made in China.
Well, the government has been talking about counter-cyclical adjustments, but I have the feeling that the government is rather prudent in its either monetary policy or fiscal policy because China's fiscal budget is said to be remain at around just 3%. Do you think there are room for more expansionary policies, and how to prevent financial risks if the government tries to do that?
In fact, I believe our government, the Chinese government, should be more proactive. In other words, the government is overly cautious, excessively cautious. Why is that? Let me say this in a very simple language. The Chinese central government is by far the richest central government in the world, having lots of financial assets. For example, the central government in China, through the Ministry of Finance, holds majority shares or significant shares of the 5 largest commercial banks, which are among the most profitable commercial banks in the world. And these commercial banks have shares listed in the stock market. And also, our central government, through the Ministry of Finance, holds shares of the 3 super profitable mobile phone operators. And also the central government holds shares of PetroChina and Sinopec, these oil companies, and Sino Construction, so on and so forth. The super profitable firms, most of them have their significant shares being held by the central government. Meanwhile, our central government, the Chinese central government, only holds in the amount of 20% of GDP as central government debt. I propose our central government spend much more money, have issue more debt, issue much more debt, and also by issuing central government debt, the central government should take over some of the local government debt in order to rejuvenate the public finance of local governments. So my point is that my long answer boils down to one sentence. That is, our Chinese central government should be much more proactive when it comes to fiscal policy. And they're very solid, very good economic analysis.
Do you think we should have higher expectations because that could lead to more investment from the corporate side and also more consumption from consumers?
Absolutely. Okay, there are several things the government should do, and to a large extent, the government is now making decisions on. The first thing is to find a way to subsidize consumption. Notice I call subsidized consumption, not subsidized income. Okay, these are different things. Okay, in other words, give people a discount, paid out the government budget, give people a discount when people are deciding that they are consuming. So in other words, when you go to a cashier in a department store, somebody from the government tells the cashier, Miss Wan, you get a 10% discount thanks to the government policy. Well, that way you are more willing to consume, especially if you know this beforehand. If you go before going to a department store, you are told that there is a 10% discount given by the central government. You'll be more happy to consume. That's the first thing I think the government can do. Second thing is to stabilize the property market. Okay, to get rid of the purchasing restrictions in cities like Beijing and Shanghai, which were imposed in 2012 when the property market was super hot. But today, the very few people in China are counting on the property market as a means of investment. So we need to get rid of housing purchasing restrictions. That's the second thing the government can do. The third thing the government can do, and I believe is already announced, is to pinpoint key sectors to subsidize investment, in particular energy transition. Energy transition. China has announced 2023, 2030, 2060 carbon emission targets. And in order to reach that, investments have to be done. And investments have to be done to replace the coal-powered power plants by solar panels and by windmills, so on and so forth. And this requires investment. So these three areas: subsidize consumption, stabilize housing market by eliminating restrictions on housing purchasing, and to subsidize investment in new energy. These three things, once they are done, I do believe the economy will run much faster.
As China's economy grows bigger, last year we have seen a lot of significant events like the enlargement of the BRICS and the Belt and Road Forum, and we're seeing Chinese yuan is also playing a bigger role in global trade. How do you anticipate China's economic policies and international trade relations to adapt and shape the global economic order in the year beyond?
China will continue to be a progressive force in stabilizing global trade, and also progressive force in encouraging other countries to open up. Because China, from its own experience of past 45 years of reform and opening up, China knows very well that through opening up, the whole world will benefit. Not only the Chinese economy, the rest of the world will also benefit. China is good, like a good student. Now it's turning to become a good teacher, telling everybody, let's stay open economically. Everyone will be a beneficiary. Okay, so this is a one line of one reason for China being progressive in opening up. The Chinese economy is confident in that the Chinese economy will not lose in international competition. Some sectors for sure will move out of the Chinese economy. However, moving out these sectors moving out leaves room for other sectors to emerge. So overall, China's economy and the Chinese policymakers overall are rather confident, believing in that opening up of international trade will essentially and eventually benefit the Chinese economy itself.
And as you mentioned earlier, China is moving up the value chain. As China continues to prioritize technological innovation, what are the key areas do you see the most potential for growth and investment?
Well, in my mind, there are two areas for China to pin hope on for technological progress. Number one is energy, which is not super obvious, but it is key. It is key. The whole world is in a process of energy transition. The whole world, not China, not only China. That is, the whole world is now moving towards green energy. And by green energy, I mean solar panels and windmills. And the key to the transition from dirty energy to green energy or black energy to green energy is storage, energy storage, the
Yes.
storing of this intermittent energy, right? And
Right.
China is now at front, international frontier is a frontier country in designing in implementing these technologies, the green technology and their storage. So this is one area China will make a head start. The other area is what we call AI and application of AI and also communications technology. And this there are many examples in this regard. with AI, the delivery job of our express packages will be changed. Today in China, you see many young people busy riding their electrical bikes, delivering packages. In 5 years, I believe that many of the electrical bikes will be replaced by tricycles, electrical tricycles with three wheels, without any human pilot. And these tricycles will deliver packages to our buildings, to stores, right? So that will be a huge labor saving technology. How you may ask, what will happen to our expressmen, the young people who do express work? Okay, they will find new jobs in other areas. I mean, they are plentiful. I think that our human society usually are very good in finding ways to employ people. So I'm not pessimistic. I believe there will be new jobs created for this for these young people, right? Delivering packages. So that's the second area of technological progress: AI and the communication technology and the auto driving, so on and so forth.
Right. China has a massive market, and there is always a possibility to make a fortune. And last year, emerging markets are facing some significant pressure of capital outflow, and that includes China. In your opinion, what is the risk and reward profile for foreign investors who try to engage with China market this year?
Well, it is increasingly clear that the Chinese market proper or itself is already huge enough for international investors to stay in China. So, in other words, they often call it a strategy called in China for China. The leading example, of course, is the automobile market, right? All the major automobile makers cannot afford to leave Chinese market. So they will stay in the Chinese market. They will find a way to increase their R&D, research and development activities, and tapping the huge pool of engineering talents in China. So that's the area of opportunity for multinationals. Stay in China, tapping the engineering and R&D capacity, and then use China as a basis for their global research and also for their enhancing their technology. So that's new opportunities for multinationals.
Coming up next, in the backdrop of geopolitical shifts, technological advancements, and the ongoing fragile recovery, the world economy stands at a critical juncture. Nations are grappling with inflationary pressures, supply chain disruptions, and the imperative of sustainable growth. Joining us next is an eminent economist, Professor Thomas Sargent, Nobel laureate in economics. His insights are invaluable in navigating the complexities of the economic terrain.
.360-degree profiles of industry movers and shakers, tech mavericks, and policymakers. We drill down on their success. We ask how they set strategy and how they navigate in an increasingly competitive market. Real talk, real business. Join the conversation. Biz Talk, only on CGTN.
Professor Sargent, it's a great pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
How can China maintain its productivity? What are the keys?
Is when you're behind, the first thing you do is you don't have to learn about new things. You have to learn about things that are new to you that other people are doing that are better than what you're doing. So the United States did that in the 19th century. And we weren't very good about respecting intellectual property rights. We took things from Britain we didn't obey copyright and patent laws until we started getting some So we did that, but we copied a long time before we did our own innovations. Economic historians study that, so that's a kind of doing something new to you, you know. But then now, once you've exhausted that, it's R&D, you know, it's research and development, and that's why emphasizing training math, science, you know, physics, chemistry, biology, and you walk around here, you'll see world-class scientists from China talking to world-class scientists from other places, and they're exchanging ideas.
Amazing, and it's beautiful to have these kind of exchange of ideas.
Yeah.
But one thing China is concerned about is the U.S. restriction on the semiconductors to China.
Yeah.
To China, be very deeply concerned about this because
Me too.
the United States says it is to prevent military use for national security concerns, but it is not very convincing to China. What is your take?
Look, China's a big market for these chips. The Intel company and the NVIDIA company, they don't want these restrictions, and they've lobbied against it. Somebody's lobbied in favor of it. But I don't think it's in those companies' interests. And guess what? If we shut down, if China has lots of really good engineers, and if the United States completely cuts China off from chips, they're not going to be cut off, you know, for more than, what are they going to, 3, 5, 10 years maximum, and then they're going to be building chips that are better, that are as good or different or better than our chips, and so I think we should be thinking longer ahead.
In the past 3 years, new trade barriers has tripled, according to IMF, to nearly 3,000 last year.
Yeah.
How would this fragmentation and trade restrictions impact our growth and international collaboration?
It's not going to help. You could say, was it a political take or is it geopolitical? No, for me, it's economics. And, you know, and it's selfish. You know, when I say selfish, is a large percentage of what I consume was made in China or some other country. Okay? Like my computer, you know, my phone. My phone was made in, who knows. Actually, you know, if you look, and this is a sad thing, if you look at a phone or something and it says made in China, it actually wasn't, part of it was made in China. There was a big supply chain and big parts of it were made all over the world. You know, it's amazing. There's economists, actually an economist in China taught me this. If you actually look, there's trade all over. And so when you talk about a supply chain, and if you actually, people study where the value added in that phone was created. It was all over the world. All sorts of people. But when you break up that supply chain, there's still going to be a supply chain. And you know, people have written about this. You know, if it says made in China, you know, and that chip wasn't made in the United States, it's going to be made someplace else, or maybe it'll be made in China, and something else that used to be made in China will be made someplace else. But businessmen are very smart about that.
How do you make up the Fed's response to this inflation? How much score would you give to them in handling the situation? And it seems there are positive signs. It is steering the American economy towards a soft landing, isn't it?
Okay, so here's the thing. The Federal Reserve is not as powerful as many people think, and it goes back a long time. And here's the reason: if you actually ask what the Fed does, or what it's supposed to do, it's not very much. They were managing the federal government's debt portfolio. So the U.S. federal government, for the last 23 years after President Clinton left, it's been issuing government debt. And our debt GDP ratio has grown. In good times and bad times. Okay, so it issues more debt, and what debt is the U.S. government issues bonds of various duration. It also prints money, but that's a debt. U.S. dollars are a promise that if you come in, I'll give you $1. And they issue treasury bills, longer term things, and all the Federal Reserve does is it determines the mixture of that debt. It determines how much is very short term, like money, bank reserves, or longer term, 10 years, treasury, 3 months, 1 year, a whole maturity structure. It issues, but they're IOUs, and the Fed has a portfolio, and you can read it, and it does that portfolio, and that's all it did before 2008, and then after 2008, it started buying other things, which we didn't think it was supposed to buy. It bought QE, it bought mortgage-backed securities.
Yeah.
And it essentially started operating as a hedge fund, which it was never supposed to do before. So it kind of changed. So it basically printed money and then bought mortgage-backed securities that it thought nobody else wanted. And it turned out to be a good gamble for them. In the United States now, the government expenditures seem to have risen permanently, and taxes haven't. So we're printing out, we're at the peak of a business cycle, and we're issuing lots of debt. The Fed has to manage that. And essentially, that big increase and the way the Fed coped with it, that's what led to inflation. The Fed it kind of misjudged. It didn't expect us to be overwhelmed by this amount of debt, so it's kind of learned how to do it. But fundamentally, Federal Reserve chairmen used to say this. They could say, "I can only do so much," and I can't control the debt, and I can't stop an inflation unless you get the debt under control. And Chairman Powell started to say that. So that's my answer.
That's all for today's Biz Talk. It's clear that we're entering a pivotal year for the global economy. The resurgence of economic activity is accompanied by challenges such as inflationary pressures, supply chain disruptions, and evolving geopolitical dynamics. The conversations with our esteemed guests have underscored the complexity of the economic landscape. Staying attuned to these economic dynamics and fostering resilience will be crucial for individuals, businesses, and policymakers as they navigate the global economy in the year ahead. And thanks for watching. I'm Guan Xin in Beijing. See you next time.